Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video here on Ice Tera TV. So the next 7-star raid event was officially announced, and it's actually coming this week, or towards the end of this week, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I believe it starts on April 28th, which is a few days from the recording of this video. And this is Inteleon with the Tera Ice Type, so pretty exciting stuff. We're going to be getting another 8th gen starter in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and of course, yet another 7-star raid event. So if you're a fan of Sobble, well, this one's for you, I guess. So I just wanted to talk about how excited I am for this raid and kind of generate hype and talk about it with you all, and also showcase Inteleon's move pool in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and talk about potential sets that it might have and Pokemon that might be good against it. So let's kind of scroll down here first of all and take a look at Inteleon's stats. Inteleon has a really high special attack stat. In fact, I'm trying to think back to all the raids we've had so far, all the 7-star raids. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think Inteleon has the highest offensive stat of any of the raids that we've had so far. You know, Charizard, Greninja, Cinderace, you know, whichever of their stats was the highest between their attack and special attack. I don't think any of those came close to this. Well, they came close, but none of them were on par with this 125 base special attack. So honestly, that's a little scary to start out with, is the fact that Inteleon is going to be hitting really hard, and of course it has a base 120 speed, which is extremely fast as well. So this Pokemon is going to be a really strong threat, I think, and that's the scariest part about it. Now, the somewhat silver lining here, the kind of maybe somewhat good thing, I guess, about this is the fact that if you look through Inteleon's move pool, it isn't super deep. It doesn't learn a lot of great coverage options. Of course, it's got the Water Stab. It has a signature move in the form of Snipe Shot, which is really just base 80 damage. It also ignores the abilities of its opponents, but I don't think that's going to be super critical. So if it has this move over something like Surf or Hydro Pump, I think that's better for us because it's not going to do as much damage as those moves, obviously. And then beyond that, I imagine it'll have special attacks. It might have a physical attack thrown in because, as we saw with the Typhlosion raid, Typhlosion is another Pokemon with a low attack stat, but it had Play Rough and Earthquake to round out its coverage. So there's definitely that possibility that Inteleon might have a physical move or two just to give it coverage to beat certain things. Aside from that, though, like I said, I mean, it also has access to Air Slash. Now, one Pokemon I was going to suggest was actually the Water-type Tauros. And if Inteleon has Air Slash, that could actually throw a wrench in our plans. So once again, kind of as always, like there's no perfect Pokemon that's gonna just like perfectly easily take this thing down. Now, given that it's a Tera Ice type, I expect it to have Ice Beam as well. Maybe it would have Blizzard, but I think it's more likely that it's going to have Ice Beam, which is another thing you're going to have to keep in mind. And then from Inteleon's move pool, it does learn Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball. I see Shadow Ball right here, and then Dark Pulse is a couple moves up. I would expect it to have one of these moves as well, because again, I think when they build these Pokemon, they try to give them as well-rounded moves as coverage, just so that they can hit, you know, a lot of different things, just to make it a little bit harder. At the same time, though, I kind of wonder if they've been making these raids a little bit less challenging than they originally were, because if you remember when we had the raids like, you know, the previous ones like Charizard and Cinderace and stuff, they used to do things on turn 1 or turn 0 before anyone else could do anything, and they would just kind of relentlessly attack throughout the raid. And it personally, maybe this isn't exactly true, but from my personal experience, it kind of feels like there's been less of that. The past 2 raids, the Samurott and Typhlosion raids, have felt, in my opinion, a little bit easier. They haven't felt as like relentlessly attacking as the first ones did. So I wonder if there's a chance that they've been scaling them back, or maybe Samurott and Typhlosion are just weaker Pokemon than like Charizard and Greninja and Cinderace. Who knows? Either way, let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let's talk about Pokemon that you might want to bring to this raid, and as always, I'm talking about solo because that's how I do these raids, and also, as always, we don't know the full story of the Pokemon yet. We don't know exactly what moves they're going to get, so it makes it a little bit hard to exactly plan for these, but of course we can kind of brainstorm and stuff like that. Now, the first Pokemon that I mentioned is Water Breed Tauros, or Aqua Breed Tauros, which is the Water and Fighting type Tauros that you can catch in Scarlet and Violet. And the typing is perfect. At first I thought about it and I thought, okay, this Pokemon resists water and ice, which are probably the two most common moves that you're going to see from Inteleon, and we can hit it super effectively with fighting type moves, because I think that's really important as well. Like, you don't just want a Pokemon that can take hits from the 7-star raid boss, you also want a Pokemon that can do a lot of damage to end the raid as quickly as possible. So of course Tauros is a good option for that. Close combat's your strongest fighting type move, but we're going to probably have to choose something else, given that, of course, you know, it lowers your special attack, or I'm sorry, it lowers your defense and special defense. And honestly, looking through this, I'm not really seeing too many other good options for fighting type moves, so who knows, maybe I'm wrong about Tauros. I mean, it was just the first Pokemon that came to mind, and I saw some people mention it online as well, but you know, I just kind of thought about it without really looking at the move pool. So just kind of scrolling through this, I'm not really seeing too many good moves. Maybe Body Press, but that also sounds kind of weird. So I don't know, but either way, you know, this could be a good option. Maybe not, though. Another Pokemon that I think is pretty good is everyone's favorite, Iron Hands. This is a Pokemon that people always default to when we have raids like this. Of course, Iron Hands does not resist any of Inteleon's moves, but it will at least take neutral damage from all of them, so it's not like it's going to be getting hit for super effective damage from them. And of course, Iron Hands is super strong. It hits really hard. It's a fighting type, so it can deal a lot of damage to Inteleon. And you could go with Belly Drum, maybe if you go like max special defense and max attack for your Iron Hands, and then maybe Belly Drum, and then run like a Shell Bell with Drain Punch or something. That could be a good option, but you know, you definitely want to be afraid of potential crits from the Inteleon and stuff. So I think Iron Hands is a good option too. Once again, you don't resist any of Inteleon's moves, but at the same time, you don't take super effective damage from them either. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Another Pokemon that I thought of that kind of has like the opposite problem is Azumarill. Azumarill resists a lot of Inteleon's moves. It resists water and ice, of course, but the downside with Azumarill is it does not hit super effectively against Inteleon. So you could maybe go Belly Drum with Play Rough, or even a water type move like Liquidation, since ice takes neutral damage from water. And then from there, just basically, I guess you also learn Brick Break, so that's also an option if you want to go Belly Drum with Brick Break. That could be an option. And then Azumarill is decently bulky. If you go like max attack, max special defense, you should be able to take hits from Inteleon pretty nicely. And especially if it only has like Dark Pulse and then it doesn't have Shadow Ball, then you'll basically be resisting all of its moves. So I think Azumarill could be a solid option here. But again, you won't have too many super strong options to hit it super effectively, except for Brick Break, which is not like an amazing move. So that could be something you would decide against. There could also be some bulky Steel types that could help here. Steel is also super effective against ice, so maybe something like possibly Corviknight. Of course, once again, Corviknight does not resist any of Inteleon's moves, but it will take at least neutral damage, so you could run bulky Corviknight and try to set up and then go for like Iron Head or something. That is an option as well, or maybe even like Iron Defense with Body Press on Corviknight, who knows, but I do think that could be an option to consider. The last Pokemon is kind of unconventional and maybe unexpected, but I was thinking of Annihilape as well, because the past two raids, both Samurott and Typhlosion, were kind of easily soloable with Annihilape. I know I personally did a video with Annihilape against the Typhlosion boss, and that was super easy because obviously you just use Rage Fist, and Typhlosion was a dark type, or sorry, a ghost type, so it was a really easy that way. And then even Samurott, the Samurott raids, people were soloing them with Annihilape, and they found it to be really easy. So, you know, it doesn't sound good, like it sounds kind of weird, but you know, with Annihilape versus Inteleon, as long as Inteleon does not have Shadow Ball, you know, you can take hits from it. Annihilape's pretty bulky, and then you basically just build up your Rage Fist and then go for Rage Fist. Of course, Rage Fist is not super effective against Inteleon though, so maybe you would end up going for Drain Punch. That probably makes more sense. But the thing about Rage Fist is, again, every time you take damage from the opponent, your power goes up and up and up, even if you get knocked out. So if the Inteleon hits you 3 times and then you faint, when you send in your Annihilate again, the power of its Rage Fist will still be boosted 3 times. And then again, you can just continually take hits from it. And then each time you hit, your Rage Fist is doing more and more damage. So I kind of wonder if Annihilate might still be a good option for this raid. And I'm going to try it. But again, it's going to depend on what moves this Inteleon gets. But let me know in the comments, as always, if there's a Pokemon that you are excited about that maybe I'm missing here that is probably an obvious choice. I actually just thought of one right now, maybe Magnezone. Magnezone has super effective steel type moves and it doesn't resist water, but it probably, it's really bulky. Maybe if you run like Assault Vest or something, that could be an option. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this raid event. How hyped are you for Inteleon? Compared to all of the other raids we've had so far, where does Inteleon rank for you as far as how excited you are? I'm super excited. I like this. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments which Pokemon you want to use in this raid, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.